My relationship with Clara began under a dark cloud. Her family had fallen on hard times, and my mother, seizing an opportunity, had offered financial help with a significant string attached: me. Because of my mother's influence, Clara was forced to end things with Leo, the person she considered her first true love. When I learned the truth behind our arrangement, I felt a wave of guilt and told her she was free to go, that she didn't have to stay with me. But instead of leaving, Clara grabbed me, her fingers digging into my arms, and gave me a harsh, desperate kiss. She bit my lip hard enough to draw blood, then pulled back and laughed, a sound completely devoid of warmth. "Why are you pretending?" she asked, her voice laced with bitterness. "Isn't this exactly what you wanted all along?" Things only grew more complicated. During our second year of university, Leo transferred back to our school. After his return, Clara began to disappear on me frequently, always finding a reason to be with him instead. The breaking point came on the night of our club's annual dinner. We were all in a private room when a fire suddenly broke out. Without a moment's hesitation, Clara's first instinct was to grab Leo and run to safety. I just stood there for a second, watching her leave me behind, just as I always seemed to do. I ended up being the last person to get out of that burning room, dragging myself out with a freshly sprained ankle. It was in that moment, choking on smoke and watching her silhouette disappear, that I made my decision. I told my academic advisor that I would accept the offer to join the study abroad program. My hair, face, and clothes were covered in a layer of black soot, and my walk was more of a hobble. I was, without a doubt, the most disheveled person there. The class president noticed my state and immediately called out, "Hey, can someone give him a hand? Your ankle is really swollen. You need to get to a hospital right away." A couple of classmates helped me over to a set of nearby steps. The throbbing in my ankle was so intense that I didn't dare try to move it. The class president scanned the crowd, and his eyes eventually settled on Clara. He walked over to where she was standing with Leo. "What's wrong with you?" he asked, his voice tight with disapproval. "Are you two fighting or something? Your boyfriend is hurt, and you're not even going to see if he's okay. Stop messing around. Didn't you drive here? You should take him to the hospital. An injury like that can't wait." Clara acted as if she hadn't heard a word. Leo, standing just behind her, gently tugged on her sleeve. "Clara, if you're busy, it's fine," he said softly. "I feel a bit cold. I think I'll just go back to campus." He let out a few weak coughs after he spoke. "You have a cold?" the president asked. Leo just nodded slightly. A heavy silence fell over our group. Everyone started sneaking glances in my direction, their expressions a mixture of confusion and pity. It wasn't every day you saw someone's girlfriend so openly and exclusively concerned with her ex-boyfriend, acting as if no one else in the world existed. Clara took Leo's hand, and they turned to leave. "Why are you going back to campus?" she said, her voice full of concern for him. "You know how bad your colds can get. You always need to see a doctor. Let's go to the clinic first." The class president, his smile now completely forced, called out to her again. "You're going to the clinic anyway. Can't you take one more person with you? It's not like he's a stranger." Clara barely bothered to look up. Her voice was cool and dripping with sarcasm. "Are you finished? Can't you all just call him a cab? Or do I need to spell it out for you that I don't want to take him?" The class president was left speechless. Ignoring him, Clara got into her car with Leo. She never once looked back at me. She was intentionally trying to humiliate me in front of everyone. Just a week earlier, it had been our 1-year anniversary. I had made plans, but she shot them down. "You didn't tell me about this beforehand," she'd said. I froze, my hand gripping my phone. "What?" Her voice on the other end of the line was even colder. "I already promised Leo I'd go to an art exhibit with him tomorrow. He just got back and doesn't know anyone, so he asked me. We can celebrate our anniversary some other time, Alex. Next year, just make sure you remind me in advance." It felt like a cruel joke. She had forgotten our anniversary and was choosing to spend the day with her ex-boyfriend. The next day, feeling like someone drawn to my own pain, I went to that same art exhibit. I stood at a distance, watching as Clara carefully fixed Leo's collar and then took his arm. They looked so comfortable together, so natural. Their bubble was burst when a woman approached them. "Leo, you're back! It's been too long," she said cheerfully. "Is this your girlfriend?" A nasty thought, likely born from all the times Clara had left me for him, entered my mind. I don't know what possessed me, but I walked right up to them and took Clara's other arm. "No," I said firmly. "She's my girlfriend." The woman's eyes widened in confusion. "No way, I just saw her holding his arm." I turned on my phone, my lock screen displaying a picture I had sneakily taken of Clara while she was asleep. I showed it to the woman and said softly, "And today is actually our 1-year anniversary." The woman looked from me to Leo, her expression shifting from confusion to disgust. She muttered something rude in Japanese and walked away quickly. All the color drained from Leo's face. He bit his lip, pulled his hand away from Clara, and ran off. Clara didn't follow him. Instead, she grabbed my wrist, the same one I had used to take her arm, and squeezed. Her smirk was one of satisfaction. The pain was sharp, and I tried to pull away, but her grip was too strong. "Did I say something wrong?" I asked. She raised an eyebrow, looking down at me with disdain. "A year, and you're still just as pathetic as ever. The last time you were drunk, you asked me when I would finally fall for you." Her grip was still painfully tight. My whole hand was white and shaking from the pressure. "Well, Alex, I'll give you your answer now. Never. No matter what you do, I will never have feelings for someone like you. If it wasn't for repaying your mother, I wouldn't even give you a second glance." She stared directly into my eyes, and just as she wanted, she saw the pain and hurt reflected there. A small, cruel smile played on her lips as she finally pushed my hand away and went to find Leo. I just stood there, stunned, a red mark already forming around my numb wrist. A year ago, right after I found out my mother had essentially blackmailed her into our relationship, I offered to break up so she could go back to Leo, but she just sat there on the sofa in our apartment, casually spinning an empty wine bottle on the coffee table. She laughed softly. "He and I already broke up," she said. "What's the point of saying all this now?" She pulled me down to sit beside her and pressed her lips against mine, her hand holding the back of my neck. It was my first kiss, and it felt awkward and overwhelming. I closed my eyes, trembling, foolishly thinking that this meant Clara was ready to put the past behind us and start over. But then she bit my lower lip, hard. She rubbed her nose against mine in a gesture that should have been affectionate, but her eyes were clear and cold. "What's with the act?" she'd whispered. "Isn't this what you've always wanted? Putting on this show of pushing me away, trying to make me feel indebted to you forever?" She had forced herself to be with me to repay that debt to my mother, but she never liked me. In fact, she probably hated me. This past year she had been miserable, and she had made sure I was miserable right alongside her. I didn't know when Clara would feel her debt was finally paid, but the moment I came out of that fire and saw her instinctively pull Leo behind her, as if she was afraid I would lose control and hurt him, I suddenly just felt tired. The class president called a cab to take me to the hospital. Watching familiar scenery rush past the car window only deepened my feeling of weariness. After a moment, I unlocked my phone and opened my chat with my academic advisor. "Professor, I'll take the spot in the exchange program. I'll fill out the application tonight and send it to you." The program started in 3 months, but with the semester break in a month and a half, I knew I could leave early. Over the next few days, I had to handle almost all the application procedures myself. I was constantly preparing documents, limping back and forth to the administration building. Maybe because I hadn't rested it enough, my ankle became even more swollen than it was on the day of the fire. I had just left the admin building when the pain got so bad I couldn't walk another step. I squatted down, leaning against the doorframe to rub my ankle. When I happened to look up, my eyes met Clara's as she walked toward me. She just looked at me, her eyes completely empty of any emotion. Leo, who was beside her, glanced at me and tugged on Clara's sleeve. "Let's go." Clara looked away from me and walked right past. I looked down again, blinking my unfocused eyes. It seemed that, aside from a lingering sense of embarrassment, I didn't feel sad anymore. After resting for a few minutes, I managed to stand up again, but I missed a step on the way down the stairs. I closed my eyes, bracing for the impact of the fall, but surprisingly, someone familiar caught me. Her hair still had that unique, clean scent of the shampoo I had picked out for her. It was always that smell. Clara helped me up without a word and started walking toward the parking lot. I found myself being placed in the passenger seat. When she leaned over to buckle my seatbelt, I turned my head away, creating some distance between us. "Where are we going?" I asked softly. "Home?" It wasn't really a home, just the off-campus apartment Clara and I shared. I used to love calling it our home, but she always ignored me when I did. This was the first time she had ever called it that. Back at the apartment, Clara bought some pain relief spray. She knelt in front of me and lifted my foot onto her lap. I instinctively tried to pull it back, but she firmly placed it there again. Clara frowned impatiently. "Don't move." I just felt uneasy. "I can put the medicine on myself." She rolled up my pant leg, revealing an ankle that was swollen to the size of a small grapefruit. Her brow furrowed even more, and her voice turned colder. "This is you doing it yourself, Alex? How old are you? You don't even know how to take care of a simple injury." Despite her harsh, sarcastic tone, the way she massaged my ankle was surprisingly gentle. It was so quiet in the room that I could hear my own breathing. Clara was always a woman of few words, and I guess I had finally lost the enthusiasm to try and fill the silence between us. She massaged my ankle for half an hour, then went to wash her hands and started making seafood congee. When she placed the fragrant porridge in front of me, I quietly said, "Thanks." The atmosphere was unusually peaceful. Clara sat beside me, her eyes slightly downcast. She sat casually, and the dim light cast long shadows from her thick eyelashes. Her usual distant, weary demeanor had an added touch of melancholy tonight. After a long pause, she spoke softly. "Leo cried for a long time when he went back last week. I've known him for years, and I've never seen him cry so hard." My hand holding the spoon froze in midair. Steam rose from the porridge, making my eyes sting. "Alex," Clara said, "don't do that anymore." In that instant, it felt like something inside me quietly crumbled, crushed into dust. My heart felt empty, but also, strangely, lighter. I nodded. "Okay?" She seemed surprised by how calm my response was. Clara turned her head to look at me, an eyebrow slightly raised. After a moment, she added a couple more explanations. "Leo and I are just friends now. He just got back, and he needs me to help him get used to things at school. A month at most, and he should be basically settled in." As she spoke, she took my other hand, holding it in hers and intertwining our fingers. Her voice was much warmer now. "After a month, I'll make up our anniversary with you. However you want to celebrate, I'll make it up to you." I paused. "A month, huh? What, you think that's too long?" I shook my head and took another bite of porridge. "That's fine. In a month, I probably won't be here anyway." My relationship with Clara seemed to enter a strange, improved phase. I was mostly staying in my dorm room to study for exams, and she was busy spending time with Leo, so she didn't have much free time either, but she started texting me first, and would occasionally bring me my favorite snacks. I didn't refuse them, just offering a simple thanks each time. Clara's eyes, deep as pools, would watch me. Suddenly, she said softly, "You seem different lately." I looked down, continuing to eat my snack, pretending I hadn't heard her. Clara changed the subject. She reached out and ruffled my hair. "I asked you before how you wanted to make up for our anniversary. Have you thought about it?" "I can plan it," I said. It took me a few seconds to even remember what she was talking about. It wasn't part of my plans anymore. "Whatever's fine," I said casually, "but it's okay, you don't have to worry about it." In my peripheral vision, I saw her smile fade a little. "Didn't you say before that the day was very important to you?" The sweet food melted in my mouth. I said, "It doesn't matter anymore." Normally, Clara would have pressed, asking why, but this time she didn't say anything. She just stood there under the dusty glow of the streetlight, watching me for a long time. Clara suddenly became very focused on making up for our anniversary. She would text me her new ideas, asking for my opinion. Sometimes I replied, sometimes I didn't. That night she texted, asking if I wanted to go for a walk on the beach. I was at a dinner with some classmates from the student government and only saw her message, sent an hour ago, when I stepped out of the private room for some air. She had planned it in detail. Just reading her description made it hard not to look forward to it. I replied, "Sounds good." The next second, a message notification chimed from nearby. I looked up. At the end of the hallway stood Clara, graceful and elegant, her white dress making her look even cooler and more distant than usual. She stood out in the crowd. A woman who seemed to be drunk was arguing incoherently with her. She was reaching for Leo, who stood just behind Clara. "I just want his number. What's it to you? Is he your boyfriend or something?" Clara's jaw tensed. She didn't speak, but when the woman's hand reached for Leo again, Clara suddenly smacked it away. "He is my boyfriend," she said, her voice low and laced with an intimidating aura. "Now, can you get lost?" The woman scoffed and reluctantly left. Leo put his arm around Clara's waist. Clara paused for a few seconds, then slowly reached out and patted his shoulder. The door of the private room behind me was suddenly pushed open. "Huh? Alex, what are you doing standing out here?" Clara, whose back had been to me, froze. She pushed Leo away and turned around. Our eyes met, and for the first time, a flicker of genuine panic appeared in her eyes. My classmate leaned out from behind me. "What are you looking at?" I pulled my gaze away and went back into the room with him. "Nothing." The dinner ended an hour later. Clara hadn't sent me a single message during that time, but as soon as I walked out of the restaurant, I saw her standing by the roadside. A freshman girl who had just joined the student government caught up to me. "Alex, I just joined student government, and there's a lot I don't understand. Could I get your contact info so I can ask you questions later?" Clara's gaze fell on the freshman. She looked her up and down, then gave a silent, slight smirk, as if to say, "Who still uses such a lame pickup line?" I nodded, took out my phone, and pulled up my QR code. "You can scan mine." "Thanks." When the freshman smiled, 2 sweet dimples appeared. It was infectious, and I couldn't help but smile back. After she left, I walked over to Clara. "Waiting for me to go back together?" She looked down, hiding the emotion in her eyes, and hummed a soft, "Yes." She was even quieter than usual on the way back. Neither of us spoke the whole way until we reached the men's dormitory. I was about to go inside when Clara grabbed my arm and pulled me into an embrace. The distance between us vanished, her eyes fixed on my lips, and she leaned in. I caught the faint scent of alcohol on her breath. The few times Clara and I had kissed had all been in the privacy of our apartment. In public, she always resisted any form of intimacy. I pushed her shoulder gently and turned my head away. "You're drunk." Clara maintained the close distance, looking up at me. Her eyes were perfectly clear, as if she had expected me to avoid the kiss. She just stared at me for a few seconds before letting go and stepping back. I turned to leave. Clara pulled me back again. "You're just going to leave like that? Don't you have anything to ask me?" Her voice grew hoarse. I was confused. Should I ask something? She gave a slight, self-mocking tug at her lips. "Not going to ask me why I called myself Leo's girlfriend?" She looked directly at me. "Do you trust me that much?" I couldn't understand Clara. She was the one who used to mock me for being sensitive and suspicious, who hated my jealousy. Now that I wasn't obsessing over her and Leo anymore, she didn't seem relieved at all. I made up an excuse. "What you said today, weren't you just trying to help him out? You said before you only see him as a friend. I trust you. There's nothing to ask." Fueled by alcohol, Clara wasn't as aloof and restrained as usual. Emotions churned in her dark eyes. Just as she was about to say something, a voice cut in. "Clara!" Leo ran up to her, clutching his phone, his voice trembling. "Will you come with me to the police station?" Clara pressed her lips together. "What happened?" I took a step back. "Well, you guys handle your business. I'm heading back." "Alex." I turned and walked away quickly, cutting off whatever Clara was about to say. A month flew by. All the procedures for the exchange program were completed. I was leaving in a few days, and Clara was still entangled with Leo. She rubbed her temples and apologized, saying the makeup anniversary would have to be postponed another week, because Leo wasn't familiar with the clubs yet, and couldn't manage without her. I was taken aback for a second, then nodded. "It's okay." If she hadn't brought it up, I would have forgotten all about it. There was a problem at her southern branch, so my mom was completely swamped with work. Still, she managed to find time to visit me at school the day before I was set to leave. The timing was terrible. She ran into Clara and a drunk Leo at the school gate. Leo had his arm slung around Clara's neck, crying, barely conscious. Why aren't you mine anymore?" My mom saw this, and a confrontation erupted. My roommate, Sam, happened to witness it on his way back to school and texted me. When I arrived, my mom's face was flushed with anger. She was pointing at Clara and yelling, "You're mixed up with this guy again. Have you forgotten what you are? How dare you betray Alex? If I hadn't sponsored you, you'd be worse off than a stray dog right now." Clara held the drowsy Leo, not getting angry despite being yelled at. Instead, she smiled carelessly. "If I had known back then that the price of your sponsorship was being with Alex, I would have rather died than go to school, Auntie." Seeing my mom speechless, a flicker of vengeful pleasure appeared in her eyes. "Your son is mediocre and boring. After all, you raised him. What good could he possibly be? From the day you forcibly separated me and Leo and pushed your son onto me, he became nothing more than my tool for revenge against you." She said slowly, word by word, "If Leo and I are miserable, I'll make him suffer 1,000 times more." My mom's blood pressure shot up, and she started to sway. I ran out from under the shade of a nearby tree and supported her. "Mom, do you have your blood pressure medication?" She nodded, indicating it was in her car parked nearby. In my peripheral vision, Clara's figure suddenly froze. As I helped my mom down the steps toward the car, she followed us, her voice trembling uncontrollably. "Alex, how long were you standing there?" I helped my mom down the steps, not answering her. Clara stubbornly grabbed my wrist. "Give me a chance to explain. What I said just now was only to—" I cut her off. "Are you free tonight?" Her eyes locked on mine, and she nodded. I looked up at her. Okay, then let's talk tonight. I have something to tell you. After all, before I left, we still needed to have a formal breakup. Clara agreed without a second thought. But in the end, she stood me up that night. I waited for her in the apartment for hours, but she never came. She texted, explaining that Leo had alcohol poisoning and she couldn't leave the hospital. Can we talk tomorrow? I'll come find you tomorrow. Messages kept coming, one after another. Apologies, explanations, promises. This was something I, who was used to her leaving me on read for days, could never have imagined. But there was no tomorrow for us. The next morning, after having breakfast with my mom, the driver took me to the airport. After boarding the plane, I opened my chat with Clara. Before blocking her number, I gave us both some closure. Clara, we're breaking up. I'm letting you be with Leo. The plane took off. The official yet gentle male voice over the PA system made me a little drowsy. I put on my eye mask, and as I was drifting off to sleep, I had an untimely thought about how Clara would react to that breakup message. After I had confirmed I was going on the exchange program, the topic of breaking up had come up once. It was just 2 days after Clara and I had seemingly patched things up. My foot injury hadn't completely healed yet. A mutual friend of ours was having a birthday dinner, and as I reached the door of the private room, I heard arguing inside. Clara, just keep it up. Keep messing around with your ex like this, and Alex will break up with you sooner or later. Clara said nonchalantly, he won't. I promised him a makeup anniversary the day before yesterday. He's already been pacified. Your hypothetical situation is meaningless. You're way too confident, our friend scoffed. If this goes on, there will definitely come a day when he completely stops liking you. When he brings up breaking up, will you agree or not? Clara was silent. A cold laugh from our friend filled the air. If you don't want to break up, it proves you like him. So could you please treat him better? Not wanting to break up means I like him? Clara sounded as if she'd heard something utterly ridiculous. I'm just used to him. I had heard her say those exact words at the art exhibit on our anniversary. Back then, I was so upset I could barely breathe. Now, I felt nothing. Clara picked up her jacket and walked towards the door. I'm leaving. Leo texted me saying his cold isn't better. I'm taking him to get an IV. She opened the door, and our eyes met before I had time to react. Clara's gaze was dark and scrutinizing. This is the second time. Are you addicted to following me? She thought, like at the art exhibit, that I had followed them there. Was I not clear enough about my relationship with Leo the other day? Or was the compensation I promised not enough that you're still being so endlessly suspicious? She seemed to find herself ridiculous and smirked. Or should I just not have bothered being soft on you? You're just inherently incorrigible, aren't you? I invited him for my birthday. Our friend came up from behind, punched her shoulder lightly, and pulled me inside. Seriously, can you at least ask before you accuse someone next time? I handed my gift to our friend and found a random seat. Linda leaned against the door, quietly watching me, as if trying to figure out why I was so uncharacteristically calm. Our friend complained. She was just saying with so much certainty that you guys would never break up. It made me angry just listening to it. I picked up a meatball with my chopsticks, not looking up. Why not? The future is unknown. Breaking up isn't exactly a rare event. You could even say it's quite common. Clara quickly denied it. Not possible. She put on her jacket, her expression cool. I misunderstood earlier. I apologize. But Alex, don't say things out of anger. Not everything can be said casually. Her attitude showed she didn't want to break up, but she was still leaving to be with Leo. What Clara said and what Clara did were always contradictory. After a 12-hour flight, I was sore all over when I finally got off the plane. I got to my new apartment, finished unpacking, and opened my phone. A string of messages from my roommate, Sam, popped up. Alex, did you not tell Clara you were going on an exchange program? It's raining like crazy, and she's been waiting for you downstairs. It came with a picture of Clara standing drenched in the pouring rain below our old dorm. If this keeps up, she's going to die of exposure. I'm going down to make her leave. The next message came half an hour later. Clara is so scary. I went down and told her you applied for the exchange program almost 2 months ago. The way she looked at me was like she was looking at a dead person. I got super scared and asked if she wanted me to pass on any message to you. I waited for a long time and she just said no. Then turned and walked away like a ghost, all gloomy and dark. That was the last message I saw about Clara for the next year. After school started in my new country, I was busy adjusting to campus life. I hardly ever thought about her. The only time was 3 months before I came back, when I made my new relationship official. She was a local girl named Sophie. That night, before bed, I answered an unknown call from back home. Hello? There was no response, just silence on the other end. The moment I hung up, I briefly wondered if it was Clara. But the thought flashed through my mind and didn't linger. If things had gone as expected, Clara should have gotten back together with Leo long ago. It couldn't be her. The one-year exchange program ended quickly. My girlfriend Sophie hadn't graduated yet, so she couldn't come back with me. After returning to the country, the dorms were reassigned. Unfortunately, I was assigned to the same room as Leo. When he saw me, the smile on his face faltered a bit. Long time no see. Didn't expect a year to go by so fast? I pushed my suitcase past him without a word. The other 2 guys in the room were freshmen. Seeing the tension, they closed their mouths, which had been about to greet me, and just blinked. Leo looked at one of the boys. I remember you said you started dating someone recently. Make sure to keep a close eye on your girlfriend. Otherwise, if someone else likes her and steals her away, you'll learn your lesson. What do you mean? The boy frowned. Oh, you guys don't know? Our new roommate, Alex, his most famous stunt at school was stealing someone's girlfriend. Leo recounted the whole story with dramatic flair. The dorm room went quiet. Even though I was looking down, organizing the clothes in my suitcase, I could feel 3 pairs of eyes on me. I let out a heavy sigh, already preparing to request a room change. I tossed aside some clothes, stood up, and faced Leo. I told you I... Hold on, the boy who had recently started dating interrupted. He was looking at Leo with utter confusion. That's ridiculous. Are you outing yourself as the other guy? So you mean Alex's mom broke you 2 up, and then you didn't dare mess with a powerful woman, so you took it out on her seemingly good-tempered son? And even before Alex broke up with her, you 2 were acting like a married couple? I stood there silently, wondering if I really looked that good-tempered. Leo forced a smile. So you're saying Alex is completely blameless? No, he's more at fault than you, the boy said, counting on his fingers. First, he messed up by falling for a toxic girl. Second, he shouldn't have let you 2 openly flirt and get away with it, letting you walk all over him. Lastly, when you were just trying to stir up trouble just now, he didn't immediately punch you in the face. Leo laughed angrily and pushed his chair back. If you don't know how to respect your upperclassmen, I can teach you. He raised his hand toward the boy. I caught it mid-air and pushed it away. What right do you have to lecture anyone? I glanced at his computer screen, which showed an internship offer. Leo, the company you're about to intern at, the boss is a friend of my uncle. If you want this internship to go smoothly, you'd better behave yourself from now on. Leo stared at me, his expression blank. Then his lips curled into a smile. You reminded me. There's no need for me to keep fighting with you. After all, I'm the winner. Clara is mine now, isn't she? He grabbed his messenger bag and left the dorm. At the same time, the snacks I had ordered for delivery arrived. I had intended to share them with my 3 roommates, but I didn't expect one of them to be Leo. I placed the extra bag on the windowsill. You guys can share this." The two of them said their thanks. The boy who had just dissed Leo said while opening a snack, "You were so cool just now. Can you be like that from now on? Don't let yourself be bullied anymore. If someone's being a jerk and you don't want to cuss them out, just hit them." I looked down at my palm, clenching it loosely. "Okay, I get it. Thanks." Clara and I weren't in the same department, but we still met on the first day of school. She and Leo arrived late to the student gathering that evening. "Seriously, you two are stuck together all day and still won't admit you're dating? Are you planning to wait until the baby's born to get your marriage license or what?" Leo nudged the guy who spoke with his elbow. "Clara wouldn't do something so irresponsible." "Okay, all right. We know you're a great defender of your girlfriend." Clara didn't react to their conversation. Her dark eyes scanned past me, and she chose the seat directly opposite me. The friend next to me quickly clarified, "I swear, I confirmed with them that Clara wasn't coming before I invited you." I shook my head, reassuring him. "It's okay." Judging by Clara's attitude just now, she planned for us to pretend we didn't know each other. I breathed a sigh of relief, figuring there was no need to leave early and spoil everyone's fun. Truth or dare was the timeless icebreaker game. After a few rounds, the atmosphere reached its peak until the spinner pointed at me. The person who had lost the previous game picked through the truth cards. "Hold on, let me pick a good question." Clara, who had been drinking quietly, lightly tapped her glass on the table. She looked up, straight at me. "I'll ask." A strange, heavy silence spread through the room, suppressing all the laughter. Everyone had different expressions. Leo, beside her, forced a smile and put his arm around her. "How about I ask? After all, I'm his roommate now. I know him better." Clara slowly pulled her arm away. "I'll do it," she spoke calmly. "I want to know, how much do you like your current girlfriend? Is it deeper than how you used to like your ex-girlfriend?" The silence in the room wasn't peaceful. It was more like the air itself had frozen, forming an invisible barrier that blocked out all sound. It was a tense, suffocating quiet. Clara smirked. "Too hard to answer?" I opened my mouth, about to answer her, when a call from my girlfriend, Sophie, distracted me. At this time, it was morning where she was. I accidentally hit the speakerphone button when I answered. "Baby, I'm awake." Her voice, thick with sleepiness and a clingy, sweet tone, clearly reached everyone's ears in the room. "Can you tell me you miss me to coax me out of bed?" My face instantly flushed. I quickly hung up the call, apologizing quietly. "Sorry," my hand slipped. A barrage of exaggerated, playful noises followed, and I ducked my head lower. It felt like heat waves were rising from the top of my head and ears. This is what it's like dating an incredibly affectionate girlfriend. You have to be careful opening voice messages or using speakerphone in public. Once the teasing died down, I looked up again. The person sitting across from me had already left. "Hey, where's Clara?" a guy asked. "She left. I think she said something like, 'This is boring,' and just took off by herself." The lively atmosphere diluted the awkwardness of the little incident. For the rest of the night, everyone tacitly avoided mentioning Clara. Campus life got back on track. After our argument in the dorm, Leo was almost never there. He only came back at night, right before the doors closed, to wash up and sleep. He didn't talk to anyone. So that day, when he unexpectedly offered to treat the three of us to dinner, it was hard not to suspect he had ulterior motives. Henry said softly, almost self-mockingly, "I'm dating someone. My girlfriend is treating the whole dorm to dinner. It's normal." The two freshmen, operating on the principle of never refusing a free meal, agreed. I shook my head. "I'm not going." Leo didn't look back. "Suit yourself." When it was time for dinner, I went downstairs with the others. I was planning to get noodles at the cafeteria by myself. Running into Clara downstairs at the dorm didn't surprise me much. She was probably Leo's girlfriend, after all. I said goodbye to the two freshmen and started walking in the opposite direction. Clara chased after me and blocked my path. "Why aren't you going?" "I don't want to." I looked straight at her shoulder. "Excuse me?" She didn't move, saying softly, "I booked your favorite restaurant from before." "I don't like it anymore." I tried to go around her from the other side. Clara grabbed my arm, her eyes burning into me. "It's only been a year. Your tastes changed that fast?" Her voice grew hoarse, heavy with some suppressed emotion. "Alex, were you always this quick to discard the old for the new?" I suddenly realized what she was implying. I couldn't help but laugh. A ridiculous sound. A phrase I'd heard recently echoed in my mind. If someone's being a jerk, and you don't want to cuss them out, just hit them. The next second, I raised my hand and slapped Clara across the face with all my strength. My palm throbbed with the impact. I turned and pointed to Leo, who was standing numbly in the wind. "Your boyfriend is standing right there, yet you're here harassing me. Clara, aren't you disgusting? Or is chasing ex-boyfriends your hobby?" Clara glanced at him, as if he were someone completely insignificant. She explained calmly, "I'm not with him. I just asked him to make an excuse to get you to come out. I told you a year ago I only see him as a friend." She looked down at me, her voice so soft it almost melted into the wind. "But you didn't believe me. You treated me like trash, kicked me to the curb without a word." I stared straight at her. I belatedly realized that with someone like Clara, reasoning was pointless. If I accused her of having no boundaries with her ex-boyfriend, she'd say she was forced to, or that she wouldn't do it again. She seemed to have forgotten she'd said those things countless times a year ago. I let out a heavy breath. I enunciated each word clearly, emphasizing, "Clara, I don't like you anymore. Even seeing you in front of me disgusts me. So don't try to win me back, because no matter what you do, no matter how much you explain, it means nothing to me. Understand? Stop bothering me. You don't want me to call the cops and make things ugly for yourself, do you?" She gave a faint smile, her shoulders slumped. She took a step back and turned to leave. The harsh sunlight reflected off her white dress, making her look for a moment like an overexposed photo. It made her figure seem thin and lonely. It was like Clara had listened to my words, and yet it was like she hadn't. Because I had to repeat a year of courses I'd missed, I still often ran into her during class. She should have been doing her internship, but there she was. She would stand a short distance away, not bothering me, but just her presence was enough to annoy me. Once, during a public lecture on career guidance, Clara silently followed me to audit the class again. Surprisingly, Leo also came back to listen. The earthquake happened in an instant. Someone's water cup rolled off a table due to the shaking and shattered on the floor, which completely ignited the commotion. Chaos erupted. "Earthquake!" Before the ceiling caved in, I saw Clara running towards me, and behind her, Leo had fallen and was calling her name for help. The scene was so familiar that for a second, I thought I was back in the private room that had caught fire. Except this time, the roles were reversed. More than a sense of what goes around comes around, the stronger emotion welling up in me was irony. I was among the first to run downstairs and take shelter on the athletic field. Soon after, Clara also came out. She was covered in dust, her clothes disheveled. Compared to her usual elegant appearance, she looked rough. "How are you, Alex? Are you hurt?" She grabbed my arm to check on me, but I impatiently shook her off. "I'm fine. I told you anything you do is meaningless to me. A year ago, after I got out of that fire, I started learning self-rescue skills for all kinds of scenarios." I looked at her, my voice cold. "Clara, let me be clearer. I don't need you." I had less dust on me than she did. Clara lowered her hands. I don't know what else I can do. Disappear from my sight as much as possible. I simply threw those words at her and left. The earthquake wasn't that strong, but Leo was one of the dozen or so people who were injured. He was trampled when he fell, and his palm was fractured. He couldn't continue his internship and was tactfully dismissed by the company. After being discharged from the hospital, he moved out of the dorm. I heard he lost all motivation, holed up in his new place, and stopped looking for other internships. As for Clara, she probably gave up on me, too. For a long time, she didn't appear before me again. When my mom heard about all of this, she scoffed. She's too busy to deal with herself. It turned out that Clara had an extraordinary business acumen and was highly valued by a certain company, even participating in many of their important projects. That company was a direct competitor of my mom's. In one bidding war, my mom's company won the project. The other company not only suffered a crushing defeat, but was also found guilty of malicious bidding practices. The project head, in an act of self-preservation, pushed all the blame onto Clara, whose position wasn't yet stable. Now she was facing being blacklisted by the entire industry, being unable to graduate, and a series of other problems. I was no longer bothered by Clara. My last 2 years of coursework and my own internship went exceptionally smoothly. At my graduation ceremony, both my mom and my girlfriend, Sophie, came. Mom pulled me to the school gate for a photo. I suddenly remembered that when I first started as a freshman, she had pulled me to this exact spot for a photo, too. Except back then, I happened to see Clara and Leo standing nearby, wearing matching outfits and hugging. Mom pressed the shutter. In that old photo, I was looking away at them with a lonely, longing expression. This time, I was wearing my graduation gown, looking straight at the camera with a bright smile on my lips. It was like a callback to that not-so-great photo from 4 years ago. It was also like saying to my 4 years younger self, "It's okay, just wait a little longer. You'll be bright and happy too."